Welcome back to another Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because, honestly, we're tackling a topic with some of the highest stakes imaginable. I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Picture this. You're standing on the deck of a massive, hulking cargo ship. You're thousands of miles from the nearest coastline, completely surrounded by a dark, unforgiving ocean. Out there, the machinery beneath your feet isn't just equipment, it is your absolute lifeline. So today, we're diving straight into the exact systems that keep those ships alive. And, more importantly, what happens when they fail.
Okay, let's dive right into this central question that every single maritime professional has to ask themselves. What is the real difference between the equipment that runs a ship and the equipment that saves it? I know, it sounds like a pretty simple distinction, right? But you're going to see how deeply this one idea dictates absolutely every operation, every maintenance schedule, and every single emergency drill on board. To truly grasp why this distinction matters, we have to talk about the environment itself. The open ocean literally strips away every single safety net we take for granted on dry land. Out there, you are your own mechanic, your own fire department, and your own rescue team. Any sudden operational failure, it doesn't just mean a delay, it translates to immediate, life-threatening danger.
Section 1. The Rules of the Sea.
Now, because the stakes are so incredibly high, the maritime industry definitely does not leave readiness up to chance. There's a really strict legal framework in place, which brings us to our fundamental rulebook, Section 10.3 of the ISM Code. Basically, this is a legal requirement mandating shipping companies to clearly identify specific systems that are absolutely vital to the safety of the vessel. For maritime trainees, this is a conceptual anchor. It forces crews to take every single pipe, pump, and computer screen and categorize them into distinct levels of importance. That way, they know exactly how to react when things go wrong. And this perfectly illustrates that exact categorization. On the left side, we've got the systems dedicated to running the ship, what we call critical equipment. And over on the right, we have the systems dedicated to saving the ship, our standby equipment. This core dichotomy, this split, is really the backbone of our entire explainer today. You absolutely need both to survive, but they serve two totally different functions in a crisis.
Section 2. Critical. Running the ship.
Okay, think of critical equipment as the primary heartbeat of the vessel. By definition, we're talking about any machinery, system, or technical component where a sudden operational failure could cause an immediate hazardous situation for the ship, the crew, or the marine environment. The crucial takeaway here is that because these machines pose a direct threat if they stop working, they demand absolutely rigorous, prioritized maintenance. They're heavily integrated into the ship's planned maintenance system and undergo the strictest testing protocols out there.
Here's a quick rundown of what actually falls under that critical umbrella. And keep in mind, some of these main propulsion systems, they can literally be the size of a 4-story building. We're looking at the main propulsion system, marine boilers, communications equipment, steering gear, main electrical generators, and primary navigational systems. If any one of these goes down, the ship is in immediate peril. We're going to zero in on a few of these specifically so you can really feel the massive stakes involved when they fail.
Let's start with the big one, the main propulsion system. This is the primary source of movement for these massive steel giants. A sudden failure here literally leaves the ship dead in the water. And without forward momentum, you severely compromise the ship's maneuverability and its stability. Imagine just drifting, dead in the water, during heavy weather with huge waves slamming into the hull. It is an absolute nightmare scenario for any captain.
Then we have the marine boilers, and these initiate this fascinating but incredibly dangerous chain reaction if they fail. On motor vessels, auxiliary boilers are critical because they generate steam. That steam is needed to heat heavy fuel oil, or HFO. If the boiler fails, the fuel can't reach the correct viscosity for purification and injection. So, without that heated fuel, the main engine eventually just starves and shuts down, leading right back to that total loss of propulsion. Oh, and on older steam-powered ships, like some LNG carriers, the boiler itself directly provides the main propulsion power. So yeah, pretty critical.
Now, moving from the engine room all the way up to the bridge, we have the communications and navigational systems. The Global Maritime Distress and Safety System, usually just called GMDSS, is the vessel's absolute lifeline. If that fails, the ship completely loses its ability to transmit distress alerts, coordinate with search and rescue, or even receive maritime safety information like severe weather warnings. Meanwhile, losing navigational systems like ECADIS and radar creates an instant total blind spot. It just completely robs the bridge team of all situational awareness.
Section 3. Standby. Saving the ship. So, what actually happens when that primary heartbeat stops? Well, You need backup parachutes. Standby equipment consists of those redundant backup systems designed to take over, either automatically or manually, the exact moment a piece of critical equipment fails. The safety management system explicitly dictates that there must be strict procedures for regularly testing these standby arrangements. I mean, they can't just sit there gathering dust, right? They have to be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Now, what's really interesting here is seeing how the ISM code directly maps a redundant savior to nearly every vital runner. For the main generators, there's an emergency generator. For the running steering pump, there's a duplicate standby pump, which is actually required by SOLAS to maintain uninterrupted rudder control. For the critical duty lube oil or cooling water pumps, there's a standby pump waiting to automatically kick in to stop the main engine from seizing up. It is essentially a perfect mechanical buddy system designed entirely for survival.
Let's take a closer look at the emergency generator. If the main generators fail, the ship plunges into a complete blackout. You lose navigation, steering, cargo control, all of it, all at once. But this incredible piece of standby equipment, safely located outside the main engine room on an upper deck, is designed to automatically fire up within exactly 45 seconds. In less than a minute, it restores essential systems like emergency lighting, steering, and that vital GMDSS console we talked about. Then, there's the emergency fire pump. This is a self-priming pump driven by its own independent diesel engine or electrical source. And the most crucial part, it is physically located entirely outside the main machinery space. This brilliant physical separation guarantees that even if the main engine room is completely compromised or even engulfed in a raging fire, the crew still retains their firefighting capabilities. Let's see how this all builds into an actual emergency recovery, specifically an absolute worst-case scenario, the dead ship condition. This is when all power and compressed air on the ship are entirely lost, gone. To recover, the crew has to rely on the emergency air compressor. They use it to manually fill the air receivers completely from scratch. Once those receivers are full of compressed air, they finally have exactly what they need to kickstart and revive the main generators. It is literally a step-by-step mechanical resurrection of the entire vessel.
Section 4. The Ultimate Readiness Test. Because, let's be honest, having all this incredible machinery is entirely useless without the human element there to operate it under pressure. Listen to this quote outlining the evaluator's perspective. The true test of a crew's readiness is how quickly, safely, and effectively they can transition to the standby equipment during a simulated failure. Operating critical equipment under calm, normal conditions, that just isn't enough. True competency, the kind that actually saves lives, is only proven during simulated emergencies like a boiler trip or a total power loss. The crew has to prove they can flip the switch from running to saving without a second of hesitation.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative question to think about. Whether you're navigating the actual high seas or maybe just thinking about the critical systems in your own life and business, if the primary heartbeat of your ship stopped right now, how fast could you deploy the parachute? Think about that redundancy for a minute. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, keep your systems ready.